YB Khairi, thank you very much for being with us. Initially, when Malaysia went through the two heavy losses in the World Cup qualifiers, what was your initial reaction?
Obviously, I wasn't pleased. I think everyone in Malaysia who follows football, and that's a lot of Malaysians, were very upset with the results. The huge margins of defeat were not just embarrassing, but I think they were quite a big indicator, indictment, if you like, of how far football has sunk at the senior level over the last few years. So I think there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of frustration, and perhaps even a lot of helplessness about what really we can do, even here at the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
After that period, you threatened to suspend the FAM. Why so?
Specifically, the threat to suspend them was with regards to the incident in Shah Alam Stadium when Malaysia played Saudi Arabia. It was with regards to the complete lapse in security arrangements, which resulted in a group of fans disrupting the match and creating an extremely unsafe environment for fans, and of course embarrassing us at an international level. Our embassy in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia received a protest note from the Saudi government, so it escalated beyond football into a diplomatic concern for them. And my threat to FAM is that, look, if you can't even keep the stadium safe and you can't even run matches in a secure environment, no matter what the concerns are, no matter what the actions of some fans, in this case the Ultras Malaya group, were, then we're going to come down hard on you.
If you were to suspend the FAM, hypothetically, what's the next step in terms of transformation, football transformation?
Well, there's a huge price to pay when you suspend, because that will most probably be deemed as government interference, and FIFA does not look kindly on that. So, I mean, with whatever shred of credibility that FIFA has left, being a disgraced organization themselves, or disgraced individuals rather, they still come down hard on governments that are deemed to interfere in the National Football Association. This happened to Kuwait recently. So, for instance, JDT got into the AFC final, which they eventually won. Good on them. But they also got in because the Kuwaiti team that they were playing had to pull out of the AFC Cup because Kuwait was suspended by FIFA. So transformation will have to take a back seat if suspension happens, because we will be effectively banned from playing international matches.
True.
May or may not affect our domestic league. It affected them in Indonesia. We won't be able to play the SEA Games. So, JDT wouldn't have been able to go on and win the AFC Cup. So you wield the suspension with great responsibility, in that it's really the last resort, because people, obviously the popular voice is just go and suspend them, just do it once and for all. But same people who will kick up a fuss and who will scream if we do so, and that has an effect on Malaysia playing internationally. So I have to weigh all these things before we do anything drastic.
Malaysia has 3 World Cup qualifying matches left. If these results continue, big thrashings, what will you do?
Look, I mean, before we go into the issue of what happens next, I've really got to sit down with the present leadership of FAM, and short of suspension, I've really got to sit down with them and say, look, what are your plans? Do you even have a plan? So the plan for me to sit down with them is underway. I've got to start talking about future planning, even succession planning for FAM, and the possibility of new leadership in the future with fresh ideas. So, for me, it's not just about wielding the big stick and taking people down. I think we have to be constructive as well and see where we can come in and help out and say, look, if you've got a proper plan, you've got the right people in place, let's try and do this together.
Let's talk about FAM. In 2008, you were the team manager and the deputy president. Compared to then, compare it now. What's different?
In many ways, FAM still stuck in a time warp. I think it needs to get out of that time warp. And I know the president well. I think he's a good man. He's obviously has a lot of experience at the international level. He's on the FIFA Exco, and I know a lot of people there. But I think there needs to be a change in terms of culture, work culture, setting KPIs, accountability of people who are running the show there. That needs to be put in place. I don't think it can continue as it was when I was there. We brought in some short-term changes. I was there and I was deputy president. And I pushed through for the Harimau Muda project to take off, and from that we won the SEA Games and we won the AFF Championship, the Suzuki Cup. But these are short-term gains, you know. I mean, we did what we could in the time that I was there. I was the one who, had a moratorium to suspend foreigners from playing in the local league simply because, we didn't have any strikers. If you look at the top 10 top scorers in the local league, they're all foreigners. So, you crowd out the strikers. That's why we're not, scoring goals at the international level. Yeah, some say maybe that's a bit of a simplistic view, but that's what I thought at that point in time, and I said no to foreigners for 2-3 seasons, and then brought them back after I left. So we did some changes. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. But coming back to your question, what's different? Not much is different. It's still the same culture, and that needs to change.
Now, as the Minister of Youth and Sports, you set up NFD3. Well done, but many people say you went around the FAM to set up a non-FAM development team. Is that allowed?
Not really. No, we presented this before we launched it. We presented it, and even during the launch itself, the official National Football Development Plan book that we published, there's a foreword by the then FAM President, Tuanku Sultan Pahang. I presented to now President Crown Prince of Pahang, Tunku Abdullah, when he was Deputy President. They signed off on it. We work extremely closely with Tiong Kim, who runs NFDP, works extremely closely with Fritz, who is the Technical Director for FAM. And we know that FAM and the state FAs don't have academies anyway, and they really rely on the school system. So our two major stakeholders, partners, are, apart from, of course, KBS, Ministry of Youth and Sports through National Sports Council, are FAM and the Ministry of Education. So everyone signed on board. So really, we didn't go around them. We're working together with them. And to get coaches, for the NFDP, we need FAM to run courses and badge our coaches. So it's all in conjunction with FAM. We do it together with them.
Okay. What are your expectations for the program?
We need to scale up. We need to make sure that we have about 50,000 players by 2020. We need to make sure that we have 300 centres around the country. By 2020, we need to make sure that we train enough coaches in the right football DNA that Tiong Kim wants. That's the biggest challenge that we're facing right now. If you ask me, what is the biggest challenge NFDP faces right now, I can tell you off the bat, it's coach education. Tiong Kim complains every day to me that we don't have enough quality coaches, and if you don't have good teachers, you're not going to get good students. So that's the big stumbling block that we're facing. But we're opening up coaching to a new generation of people, ex-players, young professionals who want to coach junior football. We tell them it's extremely different from coaching senior football. It's not Alex Ferguson, but this is really where you build champions of the future. So that's the numbers in terms of scaling up. But it's also some other less tangible things, like a new DNA in football. I've been talking about this all the time. So if you come and see our boys play, especially the elite team who are based in now Bukit Jalil, in 2017 they'll end up going to the Mokhtar Dahari Academy in Gambang Pahang when that's fully up and running. You come and see them play, you'll see completely different football. They run into space, they're very good one-on-one, they're extremely good tactical play, very fast switching from defense, offense, and vice versa. So it's a really, really different DNA, which is really nice to watch. And of course, the big KPI, I suppose, other than all of that, is to see whether or not we can qualify for the Under-17 FIFA World Cup in 2019. To do that, we need to be semi-finalists at the Under-16 Asian Youth Championship Cup in 2016. So that's coming up very, very soon.
The results have been very impressive. The boys know how to press. And what's the secret to the program's success? Because you have been beating European teams. I remember seeing on social media you beat a Liverpool development team 3-2.
Yeah, Tiong Kim and I, we focus on the fact that results are not the end all and be all at this age. 13, 14, it's not that important that you get results, but it's good PR for us because Malaysians are obsessed with the results. So it's good PR for people to support the program, and it's good for the boys as well. They feel happy when they win. But we always tell them it's not the result, but it's how you play. That's more important. Look, I mean, frankly speaking, there have been games where Kim's texted me right after the game and said, we won, but the boys played horribly. Or we lost, but the boys played well. So at the development level, junior football, it's not just the results that matter, but it's a big boost. Beating Liverpool, beating Sevilla, beating FC Porto, going on and winning the IBA Cup earlier this year in Spain, massive boost. And everywhere we go, everyone knows NFDP Malaysia. UK, they know NFDP Malaysia. In Europe, they know NFDP Malaysia. We've been invited to play all over the world now. So it's really good to see that the boys are flourishing. But I also tell Kim, I said it's not just about one team. It's about a whole system. It's a systemic-wide program that we're coming up with. It's 50,000 kids across Malaysia. Of course, you'll have your elite players based in the Muqtada Hari Academy, the best of the best. But you need to have feeder academies through all the districts, because who knows, at 13, you may have somebody who's a late bloomer, who's at 13 not that great, but at 17, he might be a world beater. So we have to keep on monitoring our academies to make sure that somebody who's a late bloomer or somebody that nobody saw before suddenly has blossomed into a player, that person is brought into the elite squad later. So it's important to have that a system where we can monitor throughout the academies.